What's up, everyone? Good evening. You've got George and Max here, jumping over from the Unqualified Filmbros podcast. We are breaking down every single MCU project one a day leading up to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Tonight, we're talking about Doctor Strange, the first one. So, without further ado, welcome back to the rewatch. George, you wanna kick us off? Tell us what your thoughts were.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this one, not only because we've got the sequel coming out in just a couple of weeks.
Hmm.
Get those opening night tickets. They're on sale now.
Yep.
Little shameless plug, not an ad. Uh, but I love this about Doctor Strange, the film in 2016. It has grown on me with every single viewing, which I think makes me excited to talk about it. Obviously, it's just a really, really great film. The visuals are fantastic. Michael Giacchino's score is awesome. Benedict Cumberbatch as a lead actor. It's always a win.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, the first time I saw this film, I wasn't crazy about it. I wasn't thrilled by it. But now, having seen it 5, 6, 7 times, however many times it's been, don't give me that face. No, come on. However many times it's been I've seen this film, I have found new things to love about it. And it's moving up. This rewatch is reflective of that.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is. We've talked a lot about a number of MCU projects that are rewatchable, but not ones that we necessarily would pay attention to that much. I think this is one of the exceptions, right? Like this is a film that I can sit down, watch it again, but actually like pay attention to what's going on. Part of that is because the visuals, like you said, are top notch. I mean, it's stunning what they were able to do in the mirror dimension, the dark dimension, and just sort of how they folded reality. It was a really cool introduction to a character that not a lot of sort of non-comic fans might have known. Um, like you said, the score was great. Benedict Cumberbatch was great, but let's jump into some of the supporting actors. I think they also provide a lot of substance to the storyline, and some of them are kind of just there, but some of them do provide a lot of interesting backstory and provide some motivation for who Strange becomes and who he is at the
Yeah.
beginning of the film.
Yeah. Right off the bat, you got Rachel McAdams, who has chemistry with quite literally everyone. As Dr. Christine Palmer, she sort of shows who Strange has been and what his life is like as a doctor. And, when she comes back in the second act of the film, after he goes to Kamartaj and trains for months on end in the mystic arts, you're sort of seeing that dichotomy of this is his old life becoming involved in his new life just for this scene. And she's, like I said, she has chemistry with everyone. She's fantastic. One of my favorite performers. So I'm really excited to see her come back in Multiverse of Madness. Then you get into the more cosmic characters with Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One, Benedict as Wong, the other Benedict, I think they probably called him on set. And of course, my guy Chiwetel Ejiofor, who is just bonkers talented.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got so much nuance as Carl Mordo, where he can play some of the lighter moments with Strange. First of all, he's got a great smile, so that helps him with some of the levity. But then you get into the second post-credit scene of the film where he goes after Jonathan Pangborn and says there are too many sorcerers, and he gets really dark, and now we know he's coming back in Multiverse of Madness. I mean, the description that I've been reading about Multiverse of Madness for years, since it was first announced in 2019, has been Doctor Strange must face a friend turned enemy. It was part of the description. I'm paraphrasing, but friend turn enemy was a big part of that. And you got to think, I mean, we know so much and yet so little about what's happening in Multiverse of Madness over the course of those 126 minutes, which is too short for all that we know about it and all that we're expecting out of it. But friend turn enemy is still going to be a part of this thing. And who else could it be but Baron Mordo? So I love Chiwetel. I love Rachel McAdams. Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One, you know. I don't love the whitewashing of the character that was criticized heavily in 2016 and prior to that when she was cast. But she still delivers a fantastic performance in the version of the role that we get.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, you know, Carl Mordo is one of those characters, and Chiwetel Ejiofor delivers a kind of performance where you feel the conflict whenever he speaks. Well, let me rephrase that. Not every time he speaks. Every time he speaks after he realizes what the Ancient One has been doing and drawing power from the dark dimension. I think there's a really great shift in the way that Chiwetel Ejiofor portrays the character from sort of a loyal servant, a loyal disciple of the Ancient One turned conflicted student, conflicted master of the mystic arts, and dealing with those repercussions and those feelings of betrayal. And yeah, sorry, go ahead.
There's still consistency in the performance.
Yeah.
Every word delivered, every line delivered, every interaction he has is very deliberate, which works really well for the character. Yeah. And then just one, you brought up the dark dimension. One other character that we haven't mentioned yet is Mads Mikkelsen, or one other actor we haven't mentioned yet, Mads Mikkelsen, obviously as the student of Dormammu. He's or as a student disciple zealot of Dormammu, and he's just so great as Caecilius that you know you almost forget that Dormammu is the big bad of the movie, because you know one, Caecilius is in it throughout. You know, he's in the opening scene in the library, but then throughout the film he's that big bad guy, and he's just tremendous. I mean, I watched Doctor Strange today, but I also watched Casino Royale, and obviously, you know, The Secrets of Dumbledore just came out, and he's playing Grindelwald in that. But the man can play a villain.
He certainly can. And I think I know that was one of the criticisms of Doctor Strange when it first came out, was that Dormammu kind of felt like a side quest and not
for
really
such a huge villain in the comics. Yes.
Yeah. But I kind of got that, right? I think I agree with the sense that, like you said, for the size of the villain and for how big of a villain Dormammu is in the comics, it might have felt a little bit like he was shoved off to the side. But part of that was just because of how good Mads Mikkelsen was as Caecilius. And, you know, another criticism is that Marvel has way too many one-off villains, that they either die or are imprisoned and never really brought up again, all that stuff. And I think while that's true, this set the stage so well for not only Multiverse of Madness in ways that we still don't know at this point, but for projects that have more recently come out, you know, Infinity War, Endgame, and other performances by Benedict Cumberbatch within the MCU, and sort of laying the groundwork for his character arc, which is so unresolved at this point. It's honestly kind of amazing, and I have no idea how it's going to be for what, 2 hours, just over 2 hours, right?
It's going to be one of the densest stories we've seen. And you're probably, I mean, this is a good episode to talk about this. Infinity War will be another good episode to talk about this, but you're probably going to be like Infinity War and getting right into the action from the jump.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like, set up and then 20 minutes into the movie, 30 minutes into the movie, you're getting into the conflict. It's going to be No Way Home just ended is my theory. And, we're getting repercussions from the multiverse in Loki and WandaVision and What If.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, let's dive into some rankings and ratings as we wrap up. So, George, you want to start us off?
Yeah. When I first saw this film, obviously there were fewer MCU projects. Phase 4 hadn't happened yet. For example, some films at the end of Phase 3 still hadn't happened yet. So this was towards the bottom of the 22, 23 projects I had seen once I caught up to the MCU. I've admitted that before. It's not new information. Let's move on. It's risen with every viewing. That said, it falls victim to the trope we've discussed of having too many projects that we enjoy more than that. So I'm going to throw it 18th out of the 32 projects. I think it's towards the top of the bottom half, and that's climbed, and it will continue to keep climbing, I would assume, on its current trajectory. And my 0 to 100 score is really reflective of that. Since my last rewatch, it's climbed by 9 points out of 100, from a 72 to I'm now giving it an 81 out of 100. Max, let's hear your scores.
Yeah, so I'll start with my ranking out of 32. It's gonna fall at number 21, and just like George said, right, it is a very good film, and I thoroughly enjoy it. But even with the rest of Phase 3 and Phase 4 coming out, there's so many strong projects out there that it's hard for me to bump some of the higher ones off. That being said, I'm going to give it a little bit lower of a score, very slightly. It falls at a 79 out of 100. It is, well deserving of that. And again, I think that will rise with every time I watch this film again. So that's going to do it for us tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. We're going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And I think that's it from us. So have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good one.